Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma. I'm joined here by one Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, the bobblehead.
Was right.
The brainless bobblehead.
The brainless bobblehead was right.
Predicted victory Monday. How are you doing, my friend?
Look, all hail the bobblehead. It knew.
Well, you look like you were eating there, but you don't watch it.
I don't know what that means.
No. We should all be eating because we should be excited. The best team.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm not excited. I'm not excited yet.
Well, I understand, but you got to take them as they come. So,
I agree.
I'll enjoy this one.
I'm happy,
yes,
and I enjoyed the victory.
I'll enjoy this one,
and I'm happy they won. But I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I gotta temper the expectations, right? I need more coffee. I just have not had enough. There was so much adrenaline. This game, you had the best team in football come into Pittsburgh, basically maybe playing the worst defense.
Wait. Let's restate that. We had the best team with the best record
in football, 7-1.
Yeah.
Yes, which is fine because that's what we said. But even in saying that, they were averaging 35 points per game. We said, well, look who they played, but you still couldn't even make that argument because the Steelers, while scoring more points than they have in recent years, have been giving up just as many points. And it was, I think it was Matt Williamson on Steelers Nation Radio had a great quote for this. And I was like, man, I wish I had thought of this. I got to attribute it to him. He had said in recent years, it would be a race to 20 points. And in this season, it's a race to 30. But I have to say, even listening to folks on the post game, Mike Pursuta and Charlie Batch, who do a great job with that, like they were just making fun of everything. I guess Charlie Batch was the only one who said that he optimistically said that he thought that the Steelers could win this game. And he thought so just based on the fact that the Colts hadn't played on grass all year. Maybe it might slow them down. And I said, man, they've got so much going against them. You've got you moving Jalen Ramsey over because everything we talked about on the pregame too went out the window. You had Jabril Peppers get ruled out. Then you had Chuck Clark get ruled out. And incidentally, and we've said this maybe earlier in the season when the Ramsey trade was made, and then there was a new contract, and he's got all this money, and he's got all these years tacked on, and you're like, this guy's going to be approaching, and he's in his 30s. He's going to play as a corner or a nickel this time, or is he going to transition to play as a safety? I think we have that answer now, man. I mean, he wasn't even really tested, which is kind of crazy to think about when that's not where he's naturally been playing. Kyle Duggar, who joined the team and was with the team maybe 4 days total this week, got a game ball in the locker room for his contributions. The big plays, they weren't necessarily there for the Colts like they had been. And we had talked about the one thing we did maybe nail or said that, show us something. And if they could make the Colts one-dimensional, shut down Jonathan Taylor, and put it all in Daniel Jones's hands, maybe, just maybe, the Steelers might have had a chance. It didn't really look that way from the start, but that's the way it ended up finishing. Despite a 27-20 score, this game wasn't as close as that final score reflects for the most part.
Yeah, my problem with this game is when you get 6 turnovers. Aaron Rodgers said this in the post-game press conference, and I said it during the game. When you get 6 turnovers, you ought to be smoking the crap out of that other team. Mm-hmm. You should not be hanging on by your fingernails at the end of the game, especially when it's a 6-to-1 ratio in turnovers. So, I've said this before. I'll continue to say it. They say it themselves now. This defense operates at a high level when they can turn the ball over. When they turn the ball over, you get games that are similar to the Vikings game and to this Colts game. When they don't turn the ball over, you get games like the Bengals game and the Green Bay Packers game. And until I can see them play a truly solid defensive game without turnovers, I don't think anything's really changed.
You had the Colts. I think we had the most fourth down plays, or they've gone for it the most on fourth down. Very aggressive team, even going for it on the fake punt.
Well, you know what I said. You know what I texted you. I'm not going to repeat it because it's definitely not family friendly.
Yeah.
But I told him that, that the call that Shane Steichen made to go for fourth down, like on their 30 or on their own 20 or something ridiculous. 4th and 1, he's like, no, or 4th and whatever it was, we're going to go for it here. When you just assumed they would punt, they go for it, and I'm like, well, that's just like smacking them in the face with, something inappropriate.
Yeah, very, very inappropriate. It's maybe between one's legs. He's just saying, he's owned Mike Tomlin, though. We said he was 2-0. I know 2-0 doesn't seem like much, but when you're just throwing Joe Flacco out there and I don't even know who else. It's not like the Colts have had these stellar teams, and they've been playing each other a lot as of late. I do have some respect for the Colts. I thought their defensive front was amazing. The defensive line, they played really well. The Steelers' offensive line, for the most part, held up in the situations where they needed to. We'll talk a little bit. I may as well bring that up, too. I'm kind of wondering what the status of Isaac Seumalo was. We knew he had a pectoral. I was actually stunned that he was starting, that he was playing.
Yeah, me too.
I saw him out there.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? So I was expecting to see Spencer Anderson, and Spencer Anderson's lining up out like as a tight end, and I was scratching my head, and all of a sudden, you could see the flowing locks and everything. I don't know if he was injured. I texted you this too, because he was just standing on the sideline, just kind of hanging out. I think it was like one of those, you've been playing at less than 100%. Maybe we're going to pull you and give you a little opportunity for rest, because we're up. What was that at one point? 17 points. Yep. So I'm hoping that was the situation there. This game didn't start necessarily pretty. I absolutely hate, I abhor getting the ball first, and they won the toss, and Steelers elect to receive, and I'm just like, do the face palm thing like Patrick Stewart.
That decision in and of itself tells you the level of confidence that they had in that defense to stop the Colts. They can tell you all along, oh yeah, we thought it was going to be different. We knew BS. They didn't. They weren't confident that they could stop that team. And it showed. That's part of that decision. I will die on that hill.
Oh, you don't have to die on it. I think we were texting each other back and forth. I think I'm actually going to go through the game book so I don't miss anything pertinent to how everything unfolded from, some of the things kind of muddle together as they usually do the next day. And of course, I know on a few of these, you're going to have the benefit of having seen it on TV where I haven't watched the film yet. And in stadium, you're kind of like, huh? You know what I mean? And there's a few of those. But that's exactly what it was. It was Spencer Anderson came in on the second down or whatever. You had Jonnu Smith on the very first play miss a ball, a very big opportunity.
Slightly outside. I mean, it would have been a tough catch.
Catchable, but they needed to connect.
I'm not even sure it was. The first time I saw it, I was like, absolutely, he should have had that ball. But then when I saw the replay, I was like, Aaron was a little off on that throw. So I don't know that he could have caught it.
I was kind of wondering with Smith and with Aaron Rodgers, we had heard something pregame. I forgot who put it out there. But they said that, CBS Sports or something.
He might have hurt his pinky.
Yeah, pinky, ring finger. Rodgers was pointing out something. I don't know. Like there was connections. The timing was either off by someone.
That wasn't his sharpest game.
No. Not in a Steelers uniform, not by a long shot. They go 3 and out to start this game, and you're like, well, here we go again. You know what I mean? You had the Colts just march down the field, 13 plays, 79-yard touchdown drive.
2 fourth-down conversions.
2 fourth-down conversions because you've had the third down, the 4th and 1, Jonathan Taylor for 2 yards, and then the 4th and 1 that led to Daniel Jones. Right up the middle, kind of untouched there. They couldn't get off the field. And again, it's what the Colts are doing. The Colts are doing, like 3rd and 2. They're like, if we gain a yard, we know we're going for it. They don't go for broke necessarily on 3rd down where Tomlin's going to punt the ball away. And Tomlin didn't even do that himself, as we'll eventually get to. You had the muffed punt. That's
after essentially another 3 and out.
After 3 and out, yes. It wasn't even essentially. It was Jaylen Warren for 3 yards. You had Jaylen Warren up the middle for nothing. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, run. And I'm like, well, wait a second. They passed the ball on the previous series for all 3. And then Rodgers gets sacked and you're like, well, they're not going to hold up. That was Latu we talked about. Waitman with the 56-yard punt. He was booming some of them throughout the day. I think there might have been one that was just like really like a high punt. I think a lot of this was strategic. It was by design, as I'll want to get to with the awkward Boswell kick that went out of bounds later. That was on purpose.
It wasn't a shank.
Which no one in the stadium knew. It was a purposeful choice. No one in the stadium knew. So let me come back to that as we go blow by blow through this. Do you have the buff? And then Rodgers gets Jonnu Smith involved. DK Metcalf, which might have been his only catch in this game, I do believe.
I think he had 2 catches for 6 yards.
It was, you're absolutely right. Right on the money. 4 targets. Ball. It's not like they didn't look for him. They were actually using some of the same concepts that have been used against them the last 2 weeks. They were stacking some receivers, in this case tight ends, we'll just use their names interchangeably, and kind of doing a little bubble thing, even with a few of the screens that they had built in, probably from the playing Parsons, stuff like that over the previous games too. But Eccles had covered them off. You have a few plays here. They went for Darnell Washington twice. One, just a difficult catch that he didn't come down with, and then the one where they were completely out of sync, and we saw that happen more than once where he just didn't turn around for the ball. I think Kenneth Gainwell did this as well. Washington, though, what a monster of a game for him. He's really showing out in this offense. 4 catches for 43 yards. Definitely more usage than he had been using, and they weren't bringing him down either. He is very difficult to tackle. So fun to see.
Was it last game or was it this game where he went down hard on one low? I think it was this game.
Yes, I thought, God, he's going to drop the football. It was definitely.
Well, I thought he was going to be hurt because that was. I'm like, why isn't there a low tackle flag on that? Because, I mean, that was right at the knees.
Yeah, and once again, the officiating better, but not crisp, not great by any means in some cases.
Well, it's never great. I've never seen a greatly officiated game.
I'm telling you.
College or pro.
There's a scarlet letter on Joey Porter Jr. Because I feel like there was a series of plays.
It's the letter I.
He could get handsy, but there was one play where it felt like he was just stepping in front of the ball and he got kind of caught up with the guy and they were like, boom. And he had every right to make that play as the other guy would, but it's a flag.
That was a very weak flag.
It was.
And because we talk about this during the game all the time. I will tell you, stop bitching about the penalty because it was legit. That one wasn't.
Well, thank you, my friend. And he comes right back around and almost gets a pick. It went right in his breadbasket. Same kind of play. They were going for the middle field. So they were trying. I kind of wonder if there was a little bait and switch here. And I know that Mike Tomlin had, that's not what I want because that's like a little credit card sheet or something there. But, I got like one of these Post-it notepad. He had something like this in his hand, like a little bit bigger. I don't know if he was calling some plays or he had a little more input with the defense this game, but I certainly saw him walking around with something more than what he usually does. And it started with the same crap all over again. A quick out, a quick slant, and then all of a sudden they were starting to bring somebody else over there. And whether it was like an Alex Highsmith, a Nick Herbig, a Patrick Queen, they were bringing an extra body over into the general area that was jumping into these lanes. And that's how this became a little more opportunistic. They also got a little more creative. I think they were playing Daniel Jones, who is definitely capable of running the football as well as, while he throws it. I think Jones was having trouble after his first read. I think he was struggling pretty hard if he couldn't find it. And when they stack those two guys and it's like throw to the one that's open and you have, essentially a double team or someone else in the area and that throw wasn't there, the pass rush was getting there. And the pass rush was also getting there because they were using a platoon of 3 outside linebackers, 3 inside linebackers. Malik Harrison, who I have not had the highest of opinions of, had a nice game. I was very happy with how he played.
They set this a lot, both on the announcing. as well as in the post game, the defensive players mentioned this constantly. They simplified things. They played a much more zone-oriented defense than they had been playing. They'd been playing a lot of man coverage, and backs away, and it hadn't been working. They changed it to a zone coverage. They simplified things. They played much closer to a 4-3 than what they have been playing. They changed things up, and the Colts did not adjust to it. Which, thank goodness. As you said, it didn't start off well.
No.
But
no points after the muff punt, which is, I wanted to get back to your original point of the guy's sitting next to me, and one of the guys, he's had season tickets forever, going back to Three Rivers, and his son, who's closer in my age, just a little younger than me, and he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, when does Tomlin ever go for it like this on fourth down?" I said, he does not trust his defense. That's exactly what I told him. And I may have even sent that your way as we're talking too. So, you had the 2 punts, and then you had the turnover on downs, and that was the way the first quarter ended. And you're like, well, at least the Colts are keeping us in this game because they're playing bad. But if they figure this out, this is going to look like the same, the end of the Green Bay game, the way the Cincinnati game ended. And they didn't necessarily figure it out. The Steelers would go on to score 3 times in the second quarter. They go in the half 17-7. Just a little bit of the highlights from those possessions. They forced a fumble, they got a pick, and they forced Indianapolis to punt. Indy would get the ball to start.
Go back to that forced fumble, because that's TJ Watt did a TJ Watt thing, and that play turned the game completely around. That is the key point of the game, in my opinion. That fumble and recovery, because look, it's not that they weren't moving. The Colts were moving. This is an important step there, because the Colts are moving the ball, and that stops them dead in their tracks, right? They're close enough and able to go ahead, and get the score, which was nice. But that is the key play that turned the entire game around.
Yeah, and not only that, it's because the Colts had been running, they had a 14-play drive up to that point, just chipping away, and all of a sudden you're starting to think to yourself, geez, this Steelers defense is going to get tired. They're going to get run down. And the offense, you were saying, why aren't both teams playing complementary football all the time? You know what I mean? It's like the offense, and they've alluded to it in the post game and everything like that. There were some points that were left on the board. Maybe they should have had 40 points total in this game. Jalen Warren's the first recipient with the 1-yard touchdown run, and then Pat Freiermuth catches a ball that's he sends this thing launching. I actually have a photo of it. He kicks it into the stands afterwards. I'm just like, I'm glad there was no penalty associated with that. But the Steelers were pretty clean penalty-wise for the most part in this game. They weren't tagged as much often or frequently or anything, especially on offense. The false starts, some of the illegal shifts, illegal motions. I know you had Calvin Austin jump on one. At the end, they had a pretty masterful final 3 minutes. Nice drive of 12 plays, 75 yards. They couldn't capitalize. They ran out of time. Could not capitalize with a TD at the end. But Chris Boswell gets a little chip of a field goal. They go up 2 possessions, 17-7 to go into halftime. You're still not sure you watched what you watched, right? That first half was like, is this a mirage? Is this sustainable? And when you look at it for the half, I wanted to say, let's see, the Colts were 4-5. Let's see, total first downs, first half summary, they had 10. Surprisingly, the Steelers had 11. The Steelers weren't leading in possession yet, though, or yards or anything like that. The Colts had outgained them on yards. The Colts had nearly had as many offensive plays up to that.
Let's talk about that too for a second.
Yeah,
because most of that yardage came at garbage time, right? Those last 2 drives of the game, the Steelers are playing a much softer defense.
Yeah, I was talking first half here, but overall, you're absolutely correct.
They did, a lot of their heavy yardage game came before or after anything mattered. They tried to really play it up like, oh, they still got a chance. They still got and I guess technically they did. Hell, the Bengals recovered an onside kick.
Oh my
yesterday.
God, what a game that was too. So
what a mess. But for the 2%ers, we might talk about that a little bit at the end.
Yeah, I think I will. I caught the end of that game too. So
what a crazy mess that was. But it one of the things I saw today that I think is very pertinent, and I noticed it myself during the game, is that even, as you said, if Daniel Jones had to come off his first read, which meant those are going to be those quick slants, quick hitters. So they figured out a way to make those less open. And he wasn't willing to take those chances. And as soon as he had to go to his second read, it's not so much that he didn't read it, it's that he didn't have time. The pass rush was getting home in 2.5 seconds. They were getting pressures heavily. It was a much different feel. And I believe strongly in this. Part of that is because the fact that first out was covered. During the first drive, that wasn't generally the case. He was able to hit the first guy that he looked for. It was not a problem. They did a good job of bottling up Jonathan Taylor. That was consistent throughout the game. They brought that Abdullah guy in. It wasn't like, oh, we got the big back on the ground, their number one back, and the number two back starts to drive on him. It wasn't that kind of a scenario like it was with Green Bay. They did a much better job, stopping the run. And that helped make Indy one-dimensional, but that's still a problem for them if they don't get home. Mm-hmm. Right?
Or off the field on third down,
or off the field on third down.
Well, they had the chances on third down, and then you have these tush-push kind of things, and how do you stop some of those? It just feels like, well, here we go again, and now they have a fresh set of downs.
That's just the point I keep trying to make. The difference that felt like that was a nice difference in this game is if they can continue to do that, stop people from hitting those quick outs, right? They give up 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 or 11, 12 yards on first down. But, don't put people in 2nd and 1, 2nd and 3. If they can do that, maybe the pass rush looks more effective, because as soon as they have to look off the first read, there's a chance that some of those guys are getting in the face of the quarterback. So that's the good sign, right? That's the good sign from this. Maybe that will be the change that catapults the defense to where it needs to be. If they cannot continue that, though, then we go back to the mess that we saw in Green Bay.
It was a nice mix of adjustments, because I see that the quarterbacks are always trying to position Patrick Queen and try and figure out, the inside linebackers. And when you had 3 of them out there, it was a little more difficult to do that. You didn't know who was dropping, who was playing man, and who was dropping into a zone. And that certainly part of the help with that, for sure. I still think Porter, he was playing in front of his dad, and he got the pick at the end, and he said that was for his mom. And the whole talk about the Super Bowl 40 team who was there at halftime, and you don't want to let those type of guys down, and you've got your dad watching in attendance, showed him on the scoreboard after the pick and stuff like that. But back to the Steelers' first touchdown drive, a direct snap to Connor Hayward on a 4th and 1, tush push that involved Darnell Washington getting behind you. That's a whole lot of meat that's coming your direction there. This isn't Daniel Jones leaning over or Aaron Rodgers getting in the thick of this pile. You're getting behind, like Zach Frazier, Sayamalo, McCormick, somewhere off that A gap, which I can't remember which side they went off of, or if they just plowed through straight forward, but it was just a direct snap to Connor. And then I almost thought they direct snapped it to Washington, because I couldn't see Connor from my vantage point in front of Washington. The interception comes from Peyton Wilson, who also had a fantastic game. His closing speed is pretty incredible. I'm going to add to what you said too, Brian, because Alec Pierce had a pretty good first half. They were starting to make him look like Jamar Chase, but Tyler Warren, the rookie tight end, they found a way to limit him. Even though he was getting his catches, his average in the first half was 3.7 yards. He wasn't
That's the key.
accumulating first downs. Yes.
They had a much better tackling game than they've had in the past, so that a tight end wasn't catching the ball and then running for 15 yards because 4 guys bounced off of it.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, I think, was a big part of that. One of these penalties that you were talking about where I wasn't sure if it's a penalty or not later on when he comes through and you said it was a defenseless player. I mean, in real time, it looked like he just came in with the shoulder, and I'm like, what are they looking at here? You know what I mean? But referees will be the referees.
I'm going to repeat what I told you.
Yeah.
It looked bad. It sounded bad. It would get called every time. That's why. Doesn't matter if it was a legitimate hit.
I understand it. I understand it. I just don't have to agree with it. That's all.
That's the point. See, it's like I accept the fact that they're going to make stupid calls at times because of the visuals of it, right? They're going to make calls that are going to lean towards player safety that are wrong. They're going to do it. So it's like you just know if you come in that way and your hit is towards the head neck area, whether it's with your shoulder or with your helmet, they're going to call it.
Yeah. One thing I dislike at Acrisure Stadium, and some people stayed in the stands because they're giving them reasons to stay at halftime and not go, hit the head and get some snacks or whatever. And this time the Super Bowl 40 team, the previous game, Brett Michaels. So I'm not used to having concerts at halftime in Pittsburgh. I mean, you go to Atlanta, every break they have some type of celebrity or at least mid-tier celebrity going out there and doing some singing pop, hip hop act or whatever in that.
Like in Ireland.
Ireland was like that too. Ireland I could get because Ireland are trying to create
They're
this,
very musical folks.
This super show atmosphere. I totally understand. I totally get that. But, Pittsburgh don't do that. They don't have cheerleaders or anything. Yeah. And so they have the steel line and they might drum a little bit at the beginning of the game and you forget they're there. But Steelers, you're worried about like, hey, nobody's in their seats. There's not going to be any crowd noise or whatever. Defense, Colts are going to get the ball and they actually force a punt. Now, it was a rocket of a punt, 57 yards by Sanchez, but I haven't talked about Keyshawn Williams, and he's stepped up and done a fantastic job as a kick returner and a punt returner. They haven't when they didn't have Calvin Austin, and Calvin Austin also stepping up in this game as well. I thought played very good, but Williams is getting some yards. He's getting like a more than what the other guys were getting. Caleb Johnson was plotting. Kenneth Gainwell it's just not there for those guys to be the return guys. And even with Austin, and I think Williams has the vision. He's eventually going to break one, in my opinion. So
I agree with you. It's been a very nice surprise that he has fit the role very well.
Yes, I had lost my possession tracker here, but the Steelers only have the ball once in the third quarter, which was kind of surprising. 5 plays, 23 yards, and they punt. But despite the Colts, and it was a decent, they ate up about 3-ish minutes of game clock. So it wasn't a quick 3 and out after the defense had to go against 7 plays and 8 play drives. There's an interception that is now made by Nick Herbig coming in, swatting the ball and batting it like a volleyball over to Jack Sawyer, the rookie, corralling it. What awareness from him. Zero awareness from Daniel Jones as to what's happening to him. And he's got some balls swatted. I mean, Cam Hayward had a better game. TJ Watt arrived. Alex Highsmith had a fantastic game. So I can't even make the comments I was making previous about wanting Herbig. Herbig should get more playing time, but they found some ways to get him on the field with Watt and Highsmith also.
Speaking of Daniel Jones's unawareness, go back and look at the strip sack that Highsmith has, because that to me was the funniest look from Daniel Jones. The ball goes one way, Daniel Jones goes the other way. He has no clue where the ball's going. And he just, The ball goes that way, and it's going to be recovered by the Steelers, and Daniel Jones runs the other way. Like, where is it? It's over here. And like, no, dummy, it's behind you. That's what happens when I throw the ball with my dog.
Or you fake it at least. Man, TJ smacks the ball out of his hands, and it hits the ground. And in some motion of him diving to the ground too, and then he scoops the ball. It's inhuman. It's just I can't explain it. It's superhuman by TJ Watt. Those are the things that you expect from him, and maybe you get some folks to be a little happier and see. I mean, the defense, you're right, they're predicated on creating turnovers, but they got the guys that could do these type of things, and it was nice to see that all kind of come together, because the folks sitting next to me are like, well, after this Jack Sawyer pick and everything, they're like, what changed? What are they doing differently? And I'm like, well, they're changing up some of the looks. They're dropping some guys back in zone, and they're just taking away that first read, and Jones just isn't able to get there. I'm like, but overall, they didn't change a whole hell of a lot other than maybe covering and tackling. Like, it was a little better. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it's a step in the right direction.
I'm going to go to a story that Dick LeBeau told during the alumni weekend dinner. And one of the things he kept saying was, and it might not even have been Dick. It might have been Ike Taylor that told this story. It's like, disguise the defense, right? And Ohio State, not that I want to bring up college again, but Ohio State does a great job of this right now this year. What they look like they're in is never what they end up in. Right? The defense that they're playing at snap is not the defense that exists, post snap. So, the biggest difference, I think, like, they did simplify things and they were going faster. And I think it confused the Colts, because I think they were expecting the Steelers to play the same style of defense that they had been doing, which was a more complicated, trying to disguise it kind of defense. And what I think I'm learning about this team is when they have to think too much, they slow down. You need to keep it simple. Yeah, so that they can play faster. And maybe they'll grow into that kind of, we can make one look and then change to another one. But right now, they just need to keep it as simple as they can, and so that these guys can play as fast as they can, because they are fast. And when you can do that, you can play better defense.
Jaylen Warren gets his second touchdown after this drive that started with Caleb Johnson getting a few carries. He got like one nice little run to the outside. Darnell Washington gets 2 catches on this. He didn't think Warren was going to get in because he loses a yard on the first and goal. And then he ends up in on second and goal from Indianapolis.
Remember, I texted you at the time, stop running up the middle.
Yeah.
You're good at the sweep, right? You're good at the outside toss. That's the way that you've got that offensive line set up. Don't stop trying to run up the middle.
Yeah, it was a nice run by Warren. He found that space finally. And then I told you, I'm like, oh yeah, oh mama. Renegade ends up hitting on the scoreboard right then and there. And the very first play is Keanu Benton. Pretty much, I don't know what they were watching. You've got this ginormous defensive lineman right in front of you, and he just cuts right in and swallows Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is probably sore this morning. I'll put it that way.
I would imagine.
He took some hits, and overall in this game, let me see on the defensive side. I got to do some math here.
4 sacks or 5 sacks?
5 sacks total. And let's see, 6 quarterback hits, if I'm looking at this correctly, and also 5 tackles for loss. 3 of those from Alex Highsmith. So, and a bunch of passes batted down. 4 by Joey Porter, 2 by Peyton Wilson. I was almost sure, maybe not batted down, but Cam Hayward was getting his hands on a lot of them. And he's credited for 2. He was getting his paws up there too. It was almost like I thought Daniel Jones was taller than this and could find his way around, but I almost don't have a voice left. I was screaming yesterday, and with good reason. So, excuse me. After the 52-yard field goal from Badgley, who is their second kicker this year. I forgot the other guy's name that they had. It was actually really good, and he got his knee tore up. I think it was against the Raiders. Like two specialists, one on each side, were lost for the season in that game. You're thinking, well, the Steelers are gonna get the ball. There's about 10 minutes left. Let's do something with it, and they go to do that. Yeah, lose 2 yards in the run, and then Jalen Warren only a 1 yard run, and then the pass to Kenneth Gainwell, and they end up with
that's not the one that really annoyed me. We'll get to that.
Yeah, 44-yard punt, but the Steelers end up getting this ball back very quickly. Daniel Jones finds Tyler Warren 9 yards, and in the very next play, he's sacked. This is the shown and aforementioned strip sack from Alex Highsmith, covered by Derek Harmon, who actually made the tackle on Warren 9 yards up the field on the previous play, which should be noted.
Yeah, I saw that. Hustle.
Yeah, it was. I saw it. They reminded me on Steelers Nation Radio. I needed to remember to bring that up as well. I thought Harmon played. Harmon's got to be out there. Harmon is good. Harmon is good. I'm liking it. More, obviously, he's inexperienced. He could get fooled, tricked, whatever be the case. But he's definitely a guy who looks like a first-round pick right now with room to grow. I'm liking Y.A. Black as well. But Steelers get the ball back, and they do have to settle for a field goal here. Rodgers looked for Roman Wilson. He had a short. He does get a first down with Kenneth Gainwell. Gets a short pass to Calvin Austin, and then this play to Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know what the hell it was, but they lost 9 yards on it. I may have sent to you. I was like, man, it looked like were they offside? Were they in a neutral zone? Like, how did somebody get in the backfield and cause that much havoc? Like, they almost took the hand off themselves.
They just flat out knew what that play was.
That was
that was
insane. And that was Jermaine Pratt, who's
dramatically,
blitzing inside linebacker. So Indianapolis using their timeouts there, trying to stay within reach as it's 24-10. But Chris Boswell, he's still in range, almost anywhere in range in that stadium. 46 yards, makes it 27-10. And this is where, like you said, the Steelers kind of let off the gas a little bit defensively. I think they kind of did a little offensively too between all of this.
Well, they made one big mistake.
Yeah.
Right. I thought Roman Wilson has had some nice moments in the last couple games, right? Where you thought, okay, things are going the right way. But then 2 steps back, in my opinion, yesterday. You know, look, when you're trying to end the game, those extra yards are not important. Just move forward. That ridiculous attempt to hurdle and lose the ball.
Yes.
It was just such a huge mistake.
Well, that's coming right after the 9 plays, 76 yards. The unnecessary roughness with Jalen Ramsey's thrown into here too. Yeah. They throw around all over 9 plays in just a little over 2 minutes, 21 seconds, 10 and a half minutes of actual game time though, which is kind of crazy how that works out. And that's because you had a break. I think you had a break maybe in the middle here. Did we? No, we didn't. Thought maybe somebody got injured. But anyways, aside from that, onside kick is unsuccessful, and you're just like, okay, let's finish this game now. There's 4.5 minutes left. Just as you mentioned, Roman Wilson goes to hurdle and just loses the ball entirely, like doing his little gymnastics flip in the air or whatever. But the Steelers are going to get it right back once again. Jones is throwing, he gets 2 complete, and then he goes and tests Joey Porter down the field, who had been jumping routes all day long, and he had seen enough of Alec Pierce, got in front of him and took this one away. This is in some of those games, they've had some of these opportunities where they didn't hold on to the ball, so this was nice to see. You always talk about, like, Ike Taylor would have been a great wide receiver if he could have caught the ball. So,
yes.
It was fun seeing those guys back on the field too. Ike Taylor was out there too as part of those.
If you haven't watched the alumni dinner speech, go back and watch the alumni, because it's hilarious. Dick LeBeau is hilarious in it, and Ike's pretty funny too. It was good. It was good to see the guys telling their little tales from that Super Bowl run.
Coach Dad wearing the gold jacket was pretty awesome, and seeing him back there. Awesome. And Kevin Wisenhunt too. They got like a whole slew of guys. Now,
I was actually surprised to see Wiz.
Yeah.
Because, I felt like when he didn't get the job and Tomlin did,
yeah.
Right? I kind of thought there was a lengthy set of, and there probably was, because I don't know that he's been back that often. But felt like there might have been some hard feelings about that. And I don't remember seeing Wisenhunt back for anything else. But as I said to you, the other thing I did notice, man, the wide receiver room, I mean, you told me it's because they're coaches, but the wide receiver room was dramatically under
yeah, I guess Hines Ward
displayed there.
Hines Ward
underrepresented was what I was trying to say.
Hines Ward at Arizona State. Antoine Randall L somewhere also. Is Randall L actually? Maybe he's with Tampa Bay or something. He's in the pros.
Not
maybe
sure.
He was a wide receiver coach. I didn't look them all up. I guess one of the guys like Larry Foote or something is actually a defensive coordinator or a co-defensive coordinator that had a bye week. So he was able to also attend, so in conspicuous by his absence also, like Troy Polamalu. So you're missing some guys. Heath Miller, they were missing a few guys, and that was noticeable. They even had them like advertised.
Willie Parker
on
what the hell is Willie Parker doing?
I don't know, but Willie was on the banner, Hines was on the banner, Polamalu was on the banner, the alumni, whatever, and they weren't there, but Bettis was there. Big Ben was there. The Big Snack was there. Casey Hampton. So good to see those guys. Aaron Smith, Alan Faneca.
Potsy. Yeah.
Potsy was there. All getting
Yeah.
their roses. So the Steelers need to close out this game, right? You got the interception by Porter, and then you got Jalen Warren running. Definitely by design. They're going to try and eat some clock, get to the 2-minute warning, which they do. Rodgers was looking deep on a 3rd and 11. It was 2nd and 2, and Warren had gotten a yard. 3rd and 11. Couldn't find whatever downfield, but he's going to protect the football, not do anything stupid here. And they end up punting. And
he said after the game, he was looking for Austin, and he fell down.
Yeah, and there was actually another spot. And guys were still slipping on the surface a little bit, but there was one with Austin where he got absolutely grabbed, yanked, and it was so obvious even from in the stands, and Rodgers knew it. That flag came out about as quick as could be, and he went in a different direction with it. And I think that was maybe Jonnu Smith that got that one, perhaps. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was in the second half, but they declined the penalty. They did not accept that penalty. So let's see. Rodgers sacked, they punt, and all the defense has to do is just maybe continue doing the same things that they're doing. They're down to like Cam Hayward couldn't get off the field. They hurry up, they end up spiking the ball, too many men on the field, and then also offside.
Cam and TJ both couldn't get off the field.
TJ
they
didn't
were
get
both
there
on the
either. Yeah, Cam was all the way like 50 yards away from where this was, and he was gassed. He was absolutely gassed.
They were both. It wasn't 12 men on the field. It was 13.
Yeah, well, too many men on the field is the penalty. So, but the Colts, they're trying to make something happen, and they end up just, let's take the quick field goal. There's 13 seconds left. Steelers bring out the hands team, and DK Metcalf clutches this like a grown-ass man that he is and just goes to the ground. Rodgers in victory formation. Game over. Some flowers to DK Metcalf here for Jalen Jones was in his face trying to bait him a lot, and DK just walked away, smiled. Somebody else would come over, and he kept his head in this one. So no knucklehead kind of nonsense. The one we skimmed over here, there was a penalty that ends up occurring, I think, after the Steelers' final score, or somewhere before that. The Boswell kick that goes out of bounds. Everybody in the stadium, there was a lot of energy in the stadium.
That's the one.
And everyone's kind of like, huh? That's a penalty, but it had to deal with where the ball. It's the dynamic kickoff. I was asking.
It's the 15-yard penalty that put them far closer to the other side, and so the way that the dynamic kickoff rules is, it's 20 yards from where the ball's spotted.
Yes.
If you kick it out of bounds, that meant this ball spotted and kicked from the 45. That means it's at the 25-yard line. Genius.
I mean, I didn't. Okay, so I know someone.
You could tell Danny Smith is like, yeah, that worked.
I know actually more than one person that is in this loop of the NFL officiating. So that's why I try and bite my tongue sometimes. And I was asking him a little bit about that actually, even this last night and this morning, because I was like, there was no anything. You saw Smith on the field, and I'm like, Danny Smith's on the field. I'm like, is he pissed off? Like, I don't know what's going on. That looked it looked like too big of a mistake to have not been on purpose. And I'm told later, that's what they said on TV. And so I was trying to figure out how that worked with the dynamic kickoff. So they move the ball and then it's wherever the spot is from there. Because obviously, like, you can't kick it into the end zone and give them the ball at like the 35 or whatever. You don't want them to have a chance at returning the football. Any kind of mistake that could happen there, injury, otherwise. They're also covering it in shorter yardage, so maybe you're not as experienced in doing so. So any kind of mistakes could happen there. So that was absolutely brilliant. Just put it somewhere. This goes right up to that Godwin Igwebuike. Remember when he grabbed the ball, and we still had this was several years ago where you had the traditional kickoff, like college still uses, and he grabbed the ball. It was close to the sidelines, but when he did so, he laid out of bounds first, then touched the football to draw a flag, which that was still one of the coolest plays I've ever seen. So some hats off for that too. We were talking about some of the safety play. I was talking about not wanting Chuck Clark to play. He didn't. I think it was illness. Man, the Ramsey experiment going forward, we're going to have to talk about this as they get to prepare for a Chargers team who struggled with the Tennessee Titans this week too. So
speaking of struggling teams, Green Bay loses to Carolina.
So that's you played the Steelers the previous week hangover, right? Because when you come out of it, you still got a bloody nose, and they're still licking their wounds, even though they won, and they won decisively. Carolina's not a slouch though on defense, though. Carolina is not a slouch.
Look, Green Bay also lost to the Browns. I think which is another. The thing is, they're inconsistent. We got Jordan Love at his best. Carolina got Jordan Love at his worst. The same way Cleveland got Jordan Love at his worst.
Tucker Kraft also got hurt, but we got to talk about some other tight ends. How about Colston Loveland? So you want to talk about bad defenses. You want to talk about bad defenses. Yeah, and Cole Kmet, I believe, was out of that game also. Cole Kmet's been dinged. Bears are still a little off in the distance. They're a few weeks. They're headed towards Thanksgiving on the Steelers schedule. But going into Cincinnati, you once again had a home game, just like the Ravens have had. It's like 3 straight home games, and I think a bye built into it. Must be nice for the teams that are favored to win their division in the preseason. And Joe Flacco wasn't sure he was going to play, and it was just a comedy of errors. Like you'd think the Bears should have a pretty good defense, and then they give up points at the end, lose the onside kick, which is unheard of. That's like winning the Powerball. And then the Bengals score again and go up a point. But then the Bengals defense was just as bad. Caleb Williams is just running around looking like doing his best Justin Fields impression sometimes. And then on the one, he kind of just rolls out a little bit, sets his feet, throws a dart to Colston Loveland, who's in the middle of the field. Nobody seems to look at him, and the big dude just breaks a tackle, and he's gone, and that's the game decider. So the Steelers find themselves back in a better position standings wise. The Cleveland Browns were idle this week. They're still 2-6. Baltimore trails at 3-5, and now Cincinnati finds themselves third place in the AFC North with a 3-6 record, but they're still 2-0 in the division, whereas the Steelers are 1-1. The Ravens are 1-0, and the Cleveland Browns are 0-3 against AFC North opponents. So, Steelers sitting at 5-3. I'm not going to go into the Mark Cabali. Well, if the season ended today, would they be in the playoffs? They would host a home game, and against whoever it might be here. Maybe Chargers, Kansas City. Who else would be in this wild card? I don't even care.
Well, Indianapolis, but they wouldn't host a game against Indianapolis because Indianapolis would have the home.
Yeah, Indianapolis would have a home game themselves. So maybe I was looking like the Chargers are 6-3,
they get the bye,
and Buffalo 6-2. So those are 2 of your wild card teams. So yeah, they would have the bye. So I don't know. I don't care. New England at 7-2 is surprising too. New England at 7-2 also surprising. So there's the Steelers have played some good teams. If you saw what Seattle did to Washington last night as well.
Yeah. Oh, don't look at the replay of that Jaden Daniels injury.
No. But I think my whole point is you can't necessarily look at the Steelers schedule. Yeah, the Jets. Okay. The Browns are still going to be tough.
The Jets and the Bengals. Those are the 2 problems.
And the Bengals are still competing. I mean, they put up 40. They are 41, 42. I mean, it's.
Joe Flacco is a much different quarterback than Jake Browning. As old as Flacco is, he's a much better quarterback than Jake Browning. Jake Browning stunk.
But same story, man. They scored 42 and still couldn't get it done.
That's so much worse than last year's defense. I'm sorry. That's like that as bad as last year was when they had to score 30s and still would lose. You score 40 and lose?
Yeah.
40. What they score? 43?
42.
Or 42.
Yeah, 42.
42 points.
47, 42 final.
But I mean, at the same time, the Bears are ahead by 17 points with 2 minutes left or something like that.
Yeah, 41-27 was was the score.
And they let the Bengals take the lead in that time. How does that even happen? That's just insanity.
Dude, look at this. The Bengals, 4 plays, 55 yards, 32 seconds of game clock. 6 plays, 57 yards, 49 seconds to go up a point, back-to-back scores. That's just sick. But then the Bears, 4 plays, 72 yards and 37 seconds to take it back. Just wild. And even before that, DJ Moore scores. It was how'd they get this possession? But it was 2 plays, 56 yards. That's all the more. Yeah. It took on the previous drive that the Bears. That fourth quarter was on the good stuff. So,
before we depart, this is what I want to. This is my problem. Like, I actually think now that Joe Alt is hurt and is unlikely to be playing in the Chargers game, and I think they also have a backup tackle that is hurt. So you're probably looking at an offensive line that is going to have problems. Which means they're going to want to do the same things that Green Bay did to us. They're going to try and do these quick passes. They're going to try and run the ball. If we can stop the run, make them one-dimensional, and do the things they did yesterday, the Chargers game is a much more winnable game than you would have originally thought. And I know we'll talk about that in the pregame, but I like to look forward a little bit. So the problem is that the Bengals game still looks troublesome because, and here's why. They can score
and quickly.
And I don't think we can win a shootout. Our offense is still out of sync and missing things. I don't know if there will be a move before the trade deadline by the Steelers other than the Duggar one. But I won't be surprised because they need to provide a little more firepower on offense.
Yeah, and maybe a backup. They got Marquez Valdez-Scantling on the practice squad, and perhaps they might be looking for someone just in case. The main question that's been ringing in the back of our heads, and we talk about this all the time, what happens if DK Metcalf were to get hurt? Your primary target, then you're kind of scratching your ass, right? You got 2 little guys, yeah. Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. The Scantling's a little bit bigger of a receiver, but he's not DK, right? So Then what do you do? And I know a lot of people are pointing at, Miami says they're not getting rid of anybody. They've already made enough trades with Miami this year.
Well, they just traded one of their linebackers too.
Yeah. So I don't know that Jalen Waddle's available, but maybe a Jacoby Myers with the Raiders, who's been wanting to get out of there. A lot of people are thinking about
Jacoby Myers. Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking about him as he moved the needle a lot. I haven't looked at any type of contracts or anything like that. I'm not 100% certain that they'll do something, but if they do, it's probably another one of those Duggar type trades because the Steelers had like 12 picks. Now they might have 11. I'm not sure what they get. Well, no, they still do because they flipped. It was a flip. So they still have like a dozen draft picks. So they've got the capital to be able to do it. They're not paying big quarterback money or anything like that. So they'll figure out how to do something if they go to make that move. So, and if they do, then we'll be talking about that in our pregame show as we look ahead to the LA Chargers. Folks, thanks for watching or listening wherever you may be. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Victory Monday. Here we go, Brian. So a little bit of hope. Maybe it's false hope. We don't know, but let's see if they could keep it going. We'll talk about that later in the week, so join us then. Till next time, my name is Joe Kuzma. His name is Brian E. Roach. As always, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.